Today on Kiln's Rendezvous Layer 1 edition, we're diving into a crucial piece of infrastructure that's helping bring institutions on-chain with confidence, and that is the Canton Network. Now, joining us is Clarisse Hagège, CEO and founder of Dfns, one of the minds behind the first institutional-grade wallets and custody solution that is active in the Canton Network today. We won't just be talking about wallets, but also how Dfns are redefining what secure, compliant, and scalable custody looks like in the age of these privacy-preserving blockchains. And further down in conversation, we're definitely going to talk a little more about your Bring Your Own Validator support, something that Kiln knows a lot about as a partner. So yeah, let's go ahead and crack on. So Clarisse, thank you very much for joining us today. It's great to see you. I'd love to kind of start off right at the basics. Okay. I would love to hear a little bit more about your background and what inspired you to build Dfns. That should be a great start.
Thank you, John, and thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be speaking a bit more about what we do and also mostly our involvement in Canton. But yeah, my journey. So I actually started with a very boring background, as I spent about 10 years in banking, evolving in very different division. Whether it was, corporate banking, export and trade finance, wealth finance, equity research. So I did a bunch of things. I moved very quickly, trying to pretty much find the right place. Turned out it was not in the bank. This is what I found out 10 years later. The right place for me, at least. And so across those different roles, I got to understand blockchain technology better. First, when I actually started working on export and trade finance, we were looking at ways to optimizing processes on the trade finance side. This is where blockchain technology came up for the first time. Then personally, in 2015, I actually got my eureka moment on blockchain, not reading the Bitcoin white paper. I would have been much wealthier, but reading the IOTA white paper. But this is really when I started, seeing the value and understanding truly the value of the technology that was being built at the time. And this is where I realized that there was no coming back and that this technology was going to power the finance industry. I think, and this is something that, we're start seeing a bit more recently, but this was really kind of the realization at the time, which was this is truly and foremost a back-end revolution, meaning this is going to make efficient capital efficiency within the finance space just much higher, right? So that's when really I started thinking that this was a bit like being in 1995 in San Francisco and seeing internet technology ramping up. Fast forward, starting working on a remittance application with a friend of mine when I was still in New York. It was a remittance application between the US and Mexico. At the time, it was very hard to build anything. We put the project aside. And 2019, I helped a company that was doing a private ICO, and this is where I actually had to learn a lot about the technology around custody in order to be able to actually sell those tokens. And what I realized is that most of the technology that existed back in 2019 on the market was very much made for the buy side, aka made for crypto trading use cases. And so whether the traditional industry, the finance industry was not there yet, or the infrastructure was not built yet to start building application, that was to me a call to say, all right, if you're a believer in this technology, you need to first make sure that the infra is there to be able to safely and easily build application that leverage blockchain technology. And that's how Dfns was born, not as a dashboard for crypto traders to secure their tokens, but as an API-first web infrastructure solution that would enable builders to start, building application, leveraging blockchain, and making sure that the developer experience was easy enough that you didn't need to be specialized in any of the underlying technology you were leveraging to start building.
Fantastic. No, it sounds very interesting. Quite the journey to where we are now. So kind of following on from there, obviously as a kind of custodian, well, providing these kind of wallet management tools, you look across multiple different protocols, how you support them, how you support those assets. How did Canton kind of land in your lap? Or how did you first see Canton and say, right, okay, this is something we definitely want to be involved with and dedicate resources to?
Yeah. It's a good question. Actually, the first time I heard of Canton was I think back in 2022 when I was talking with someone at the innovation team of Société Générale SocGen. And they started mentioning, because he was telling me, he was walking me through the pain of onboarding this technology within the compliance team of the bank. So not even starting, approving a use case to be sold to clients, but just onboarding the technology itself. Meaning, okay, we want to leverage Ethereum. Suddenly we need to pay gas fees. Who do we onboard, right? What is my counterparty? And I would say the very long hours of discussion he had with its compliance team were very difficult, because once again, there's no counterparty, right? So how do you onboard this technology as a supplier? How do you make sure that you can start using it? So we were having this conversation. And at this moment, we were like, "Are you following Canton, the Canton Network? It's being designed by the Digital Asset Group, and I think that they're answering a lot of our issues on privacy, on GDPR. We're going to have to manage clients that whether we're going to operate on segregated wallets, omnibus wallets, that would make some sort of difference. But at the end of the day, it's going to be client data that we'll put on chain, and what they're starting building is interesting. So that's pretty much back at that time where I had my I would say a radar raised on Canton, and I started following the project. And then a few years later, I connected again with the team back in 2024, early 2024, right before the launch. And typically we have a very strict rule at Dfns. It's the following: is we don't accept money to start providing support for network, because we really want to always build based on client demand. So if we don't have actually clients coming to us saying, hey, I want to leverage Canton, or hey, I want to leverage whatever new blockchain, then we will not start building for it. We've only done it once, and it was not successful. So that's kind of our core rule. And so when we started talking with the digital asset team back in 2024, we started looking at the opportunities, the players that were looking at the Canton Network, and they were falling right into our core segments. We've been building for the traditional in finance industry. We've been building for use cases that are also outside of pure crypto trading, even though we do support crypto trading, but that's not where we come from. And we saw a lot of appetite within this community. So first, it was a no-brainer. At the time, it was before the launch, and so we became super validator on Canton, and we were the first wallet provider to provide support for the chain.
So for defense, it's often described from your kind of custody point of view as bank grade by design. Okay, so led by what institutions want to adapt to their wallets. Okay, can you go a little bit more into, when you're talking about securing assets on chains such as Canton, was there anything different you had to do? Was there new controls that had to be put in place, or did you already have that kind of security by design implemented? It just fit like a glove, or was there anything that had to change for adaptation to Canton?
We love Canton, but Canton is its own world, right? So there was definitely a lot of adaptation to make, and I would lie if I were to say that things flowed very smoothly in the beginning. I think the first item that we discussed with the digital assets team, which they were completely aware of, by the way, but hadn't started looking at, because there was no wallet provider that was providing support for the chain before the launch, right, was the fact that originally the external party ID, so the private key that we use to generate wallets, secure wallets within those validator nodes, that was really much what I like to say, buried in the node, right? So we had to kind of extract that private key. And when I say we, it's really much the digital asset team, but there was a lot of discussion back and forth, in order to pretty much adapt that first core design for us to be able to, leverage MPC technology to then generate that key safely and securely using our technology. So start from there, right? From that very first party to, Canton operates very differently than any other nodes, right? So every single validator will have their own nodes, and not all the activity will be disclosed to the network. So it was very important for us not to, typically when we integrate with blockchain, we rely on third-party provider on RPC node, or we run our own node, but we directly index the entire chain. There, the indexing on the Canton technology, on the Canton blockchain is very different, right? So we built a feature called Bring Your Own Validator, so we could connect with the validator nodes of our clients directly, so they can, from their validator, start generating wallets or external party ID to start pretty much transacting. So there was a lot of nuances, let's call it nuances, which we had to adapt to. It took us a few months. We started really working on implementing support for Canton Network in Q4 last year, and we're live in Q1 at the end of Q1 this year. And it was a very, what I have to say is that it was a very interesting journey, because we had first client customers that were giving us their feedback around, what they would like to see, how they would like to interact. But mostly we had also the digital asset team that was very present throughout this process, right? So it was even though, once again, it's very different from all the other blockchain we've ever integrated, it was a process that wasn't done very well by the digital asset team. But just to come back to that, I mean, it's I think it does make sense that there's a world between Canton and any other public blockchain, just because of the original design, right? And the fact that if you want to not just add a layer of privacy on top of the ledger, but actually build a privacy by design, then, it's not going to work like any other blockchain that we've implemented. So we knew that from the start, right? We knew that it would be a different type of work and a journey to start supporting Canton. But once the fundamentals were in place, so now we're actually advancing in the way we support the technology. This is now, much easier and much faster to deploy.
Fantastic. I'd like to kind of double down on Bring Your Own Validator as well. And this is something that Kiln has been working with our customers to support, integrate and onboard with Dfns. The first a couple of questions, really. First of all, did you see it as a necessity? Okay, when you first saw it, it's like, we need to create something like this because our customers need this kind of support. They need this kind of protection. Okay. And from where it is right now, BYOV, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe it went live, was it Q1 or early Q2? Where do you see it evolving to next? Where's your customer journey for BYOV? And if you're adding anything additional to, let's say, the Dfns integration or dashboard?
Yeah, it's actually a very good question. And there as well, there was a learning curve. So the first version of our Canton support was with a shared validator, which was our validator, Dfns validator, and we've integrated through the dashboard a shared validator, and we pretty much provided support for any potential customers to generate a wallet out of our shared validator and start using it to potentially sweep from their validator into the wallet generated on Dfns validator, the asset, and start doing the treasuries for safekeeping there, for instance, Canton coin like that. And it turns out that nobody wanted that. So that's kind of the first support that anyway, it was completely necessary to do, because we had to build it at least for one validator, and we started with ours. But actually, this was really not what people were looking at. People were looking at leveraging their own validator, generating some party IDs were from their own validators, and pretty much connecting that to our infrastructure. And this is when we've designed the Bring Your Own Validator, and we tried to so I think right away, once again, because we had quite a bit of feedback, we've made it easy through the dashboard to configure the parameters of your validator so you can quickly be up and running. So once you were allocated a validator slot from the network, once you had all the technical parameters, it was very, I would say, seamless to be able to connect that to your Dfns wallet. And that became exactly what made us grow very fast in terms of adoption of clients within the Canton Network. So yeah, so that is a very good point. Bring Your Own Validator is the product market fit on the content support that we have. I think the reason being, if I'm being completely transparent as well, is that we're seeing different phases of adoption of the network, and that the first phase, the majority of the first phase, not the entire first phase, but the large part of the first phase is a lot of investors and a lot of content coin holders, right? So they want their validator nodes out, and they want to make sure that they can do content coin treasury out of these nodes that they've been allocated. We think, and we're seeing a second wave of adoption where, first of all, rewards on the validators are decreasing. Featured app are going to be where you're going to have the more utility on the network and the more rewards, right? And so we're seeing now more builders actually moving from having a node and starting building application. It always takes time. Where connecting your own node is not going to be as important as it was before. Another thing that is to be noted is that the Canton Network has increased dramatically the capacity of wallet generation. I'm talking in wallet generation just to make sure that everyone understands the same wording, which would be external party IDs in Canton terms, right? Has increased that number of wallets per node drastically, and now we still need to run tests, but go above hundreds of thousands of wallets per validator, which would make those shared validator very scalable, and which will enable any client that is already leveraging Dfns on any other blockchain to generate a wallet, start using a featured app with a credential party ID, and start transacting on content without necessarily having to run their node, right? So I think we're going to see a shift in the usage. But yes, our first application was really much built for the second wave, and the first wave of customers really wanted to see their validator connected to our infrastructure.
Fantastic. Yeah, I completely agree on the kind of next evolution and where we are right now and where we are going to be, I'd say, in the next 6 to 18 months. Yeah. I think it's all heading in that direction, especially applications and building wise. Now, we have a lot of different use cases kind of going down that flow as well. Is there one specific use case that you believe is going to be prominent, I'd say, in the next year or so in Canton? And how is Dfns going to support it? We hear a lot of people building right now, and they're looking for settlement, obviously a large amount of stablecoin movement, but also tokenization of real world assets, DVP, trading. Which one do you think will be most prominent, and how will Dfns be able to support that, do you think, as it evolves with the network?
I would say by design and our area of focus on our side is mostly around custody use cases, payment use cases. We also support tokenization, we support crypto trading, but where we have very much differentiating our platform is for those two first use cases. And where we see a lot of demand is on the payment side, so on stablecoin payment, cross-border payment. So it's something that to me was extremely pleasing to see, is that very soon after we started releasing support for Canton Network, my assumption was that we're gonna see large banks, financial institutions onboarding. 90% of our clients on Canton would have been those players. But actually, we saw fintech that we had already onboarding pinging us saying, "Hey, we've seen that you support Canton. We have this wholesale payment use case. We are trying to look at what privacy options we have to deploy them. Can we leverage Canton?" And so I would say that really started end of Q1, beginning of Q2, where we saw ramp up on real life use case, and mostly from builders first provider generally interested by the technology to solve a problem that is actually an issue in their market, right? I think when we take a step back, it's we've been building a technology that has been adopted by large players, but in numbers very few, right? Crypto was a village up until a few months ago. It's growing. It's still not a huge town, but it's definitely growing fast. But when you're operating in a village, confidentiality, privacy is not so much what you're looking at, right? You want to get transaction going, you want to make sure point A goes to point B, but you're not so concerned about those features. When you start operating at scale and when you start bringing financial institutions that by design, for regulatory reasons, needs to have privacy requirements and strong requirements within their businesses, then it's a total different story. And I think this is why also we see so much growth recently in the Canton Network success, is that there's a convergence between traditional players, fintechs, get-ups providing use cases that are beyond production, growing at scale, where the features and the core differentiation of Canton is a huge painkiller. So on our side, so my first answer is obviously stablecoin and cross-border payment, where we're talking about, on the stablecoin use cases, cross-border payments, global payroll, or remittance. This is going to be huge, and we're very bullish on this use case. It's also where we're exposed the most, and where we think that we'll see within our customer base a lot of cross-selling adoption of the Canton Network, for sure. But then again, I would say the low-hanging fruits, which is a bit further away from us, is obviously on the trading side, as we also start seeing more and more, large players going through retail use cases of buy and hold crypto. You're going to have to adapt the way you handle the privacy of your collateral management. You're going to have to adapt all that. And I do believe that Canton Network in DVP is super important. I almost believe as well that some of my competitors have built features to solve for this issue. Meaning, how do you make sure in terms of delivery versus payment when you actually, settle a trade, how do you make sure that end check is made? Today, it's made offline, and not a lot, but I'm thinking about one of our main competitor has built features that made them grow very fast, because it was, within the crypto trading, such a pain to make sure that once again you settle a trade, that the delivery was made through the counterparty. When you look at how you do DVP on Canton, you don't need outside players. Everything happens on chain, right? Through the smart contract, you have each party only receive the information that they should be able to receive. They don't see more than that, right? And then after the nodes settle with the GSF, the global synchronizer, which enable on-chain the native settlements that today it's hard to operate within the constraint of traditional finance industry.
Fantastic. Thank you. Moving from that as well, for what you see that's being built, and where do you see kind of adoption taking place, and the kind of important elements of Canton that need to kind of be embraced really for different institutions. It's kind of a broad question, but if you can make a direct ask to the Canton ecosystem, let's say it could be an app builders, validators, institutions, what would you like to be built next? Okay, it can be completely for something that helps Dfns. It could be something that helps everyone in the ecosystem itself, or just anything you think maybe helps us kind of move from where we are right now to a better place. It's very broad, I understand, but if there's anything that kind of pops to mind.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think I'll take the first part of this answer is going to be our roadmap, right? What's next on the roadmap for us on the Canton Network? So it's quite clear on our side. We've started, and we will be releasing, I think, this week, support for the Canton Coin standards. So not only supporting native token, but obviously supporting stablecoin following the Canton coin standard on Canton. We do believe that there's actually more to do, and the same way we are publishing a library of ABIs of smart contracts. We want to make sure that we have a wide coverage for smart contracts on Canton, even though, once again, as for everything else, it is slightly different than Canton. DEML makes it also much more modular, and so it's going to make it impossible for us to support everything, but at least to really extend our support. So directly from our platform, our clients can start tokenizing, transacting stable coins, leveraging our technology. Second step is going to be to enable as well our clients to transfer on external platform the assets, so not just a pure transfer between wallets, but a transfer with memo that can be used on exchanges, on other larger trading platforms, to be able to actually integrate with those trading platforms at scale, right? So that's kind of the two next step for us, making sure that on stable coins we're indexing properly standards, and we're delivering a platform that is useful on the tokenization side, plus then after trading. So that's for the immediate and what we can see and what will be live within the end of the year for us. Now, I would say more globally, I think what we're seeing today is that the technology has been very much adopted or validated. Validated is the right word, by the larger participants. And I think now, looking at more use cases being deployed, so obviously you see use cases like Broadridge with several trillion tokenized on the repos, but still kind of working very much in siloed and not connected to the financial rails of others. I think in that interconnection, we're going to start seeing much more to be put to me needed to be built in order to make sure we facilitate transaction from one silo to another. But that's, once again, yet to be discovered, and I think this is where on our side we're going to start focusing next.
That's fantastic, especially the wallet integration part. Kind of moving that around to different areas. That's awesome to hear. Last final questions for you. What does success really look like for Dfns in Canton? And I guess the final question would be, what's next for Dfns, really? Let's move outside of Canton. Yeah. Obviously, there is a focus here, but obviously there's a lot more in the ecosystem going on.
Yeah, so just purely on Canton, I think we want to see more builder use case and start, seeing the volume really increase. We are super happy to support our clients with treasury use cases, but we do believe that if we want this technology to continue large adoption, it has to move. It has to be built. It has to be built for reasons that are, just not speculative reasons, but once again for real life use cases. So that's, for us, that's what would be success, is to see pretty much today 50% of the builders on Dfns also leveraging Canton for their use cases and starting transacting large volume there, for sure. And on our sites, on the other side, I was saying more largely, this is very much also in line with what we're setting for ourselves as KPIs, which is less the number of clients, less the direct and immediate revenue, but more the volume of transaction and the scale and the growth at which our clients are building. So for us, success is seeing the clients not onboarding from Dfns and being live in 2 months, not in 9, making sure that the volume that are transacting scales very quickly, making sure that they can operate with our platform all the use cases they need to do so, and more largely, I think what we've done for the past 5 years is focusing on the core of our platform, making sure that you can safely transact assets that you can have APIs to integrate with pretty much all the chains that are there. But now our core focus is to make this platform very much of a nexus, so an operating system for blockchain. So integrating with all the third parties and making sure that from Dfns, you don't need to, ever build integration with swaps, with yield, with staking, and that everything in the most agnostic way, because we believe that's how you build the good technology. But from this platform, you can safely connect and access to all those third-party integration. The reason being is not just, expansion for expansion. The reason being is if you build the strongest wallet infrastructure, but all the link that you make to third parties are weak, then, it's as if we didn't do anything, right? Then hackers can come from those things. And so, for instance, this is a reason why we've never announced an integration that was made through raw signing at Dfns, is because we believe that's just once again opening the doors of your castle, right? It's not fit for corporate security that are strong and that needs to be deployed within the finance space, and it's putting danger to our clients. So largely, this is, I think, what success would be for Dfns, is making sure that we can, we keep building and that we grow and we connect with all the integration that are useful to our clients in a way that, keep them in a safe place. In other words, no hacks. Let's see the checks for success for Dfns.
That's awesome. I think we both kind of share the vision for what Canton is there, and obviously security first, and naturally for any assets as well as native assets to be transacted in the ecosystem as well. And Dfns has massively helped us onboard a lot of our customers to enable them to integrate and also participate in the Canton ecosystem. Clarisse, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today to speak on Kiln Rendez-Vous, and very much appreciate your time and all your answers. Thank you.
Thank you, John.